The distress signal didn't come in at all. The mission arrived via a cold, encrypted data burst directly from the Galactic Unity's clandestine intelligence branch. Johnny, two guns, Mitchell sat in the Black Dagger's cramped war room, cigar stub in his teeth, grin tilted just so. He wasn't smoking it. The ship's AI still maintained its ban. But it gave him something to chew while the holographic projection shimmered above the table. It showed a single, terrifyingly sleek warship, the Dominator-class cruiser Iron Will. The AI's polite, almost British voice announced, "Mission parameter. Infiltrate the Jordani Sovereignty cruiser Iron Will, currently monitoring the Ethel 5 refugee corridor. Upload the data siphon program to retrieve crucial fleet deployment schedules. Success requires absolute, undetectable stealth." Static hissed, then the AI projected a dry, official warning. The Iron Will possesses sensor capabilities capable of detecting a neutrino emission spike from 3 systems away. Any engagement is grounds for immediate, total disavowal by humanity. Recommend extreme caution. 8 humans sat around the table, the usual collection of muscle, nanotech, and scars. Mitchell leaned back. "Well, team, some poor bastards need us to be quiet." Corporal Jenna Rourke, demolitions expert, scarred and perpetually pissed, raised a hand. "Permission to say that sounds like a colossal waste of my talents." "Granted. It sounds like a colossal waste of my talents. I brought my new fusion cutter, not my library voice." Mitchell's smirk widened. "Duly noted. But we are ghosts on this one, Rourke. If a single plasma pulse fires, that ship's AI will track our neutrino signatures and we're ash. Pure stealth, pure cunning." Doc Havelock, medic, biochemist, and resident mother hen, adjusted the stim injector. "Cunning, that's a new one, Captain. If we fail this quietly, at least we don't have to deal with the paperwork." Briggs, sniper, leaned back in his chair. "So, like a library heist. Boring. I bet their reading material sucks." Pilot Delgado sipped her coffee. "You better be quiet, Briggs. Getting within spitting distance of that cruiser without triggering an alarm is going to require my full concentration." Malik, the heavy gunner, checked the belt on his silenced autocannon, looking profoundly disappointed. "I only get to look threatening then." Everyone laughed like lunatics. Mitchell clapped the table. "All right, you magnificent bastards. Strap up. We are the masters of the impossible. We go in like smoke, get the data, and leave them scratching their heads. Standard operating procedure. Let's ride." The Black Dagger, coated in stealth polymers, drifted past the Jordani picket ships like a piece of space debris. The atmosphere was silent, tight, and thick with the tension of a truly impossible task. They used specialized thermal drills to cut a clean circle into the hull plating of the Dominator class. The heat dissipation was critical. Every degree was a risk. "Infiltration complete," Mitchell whispered as they slipped into the service conduit. They moved quickly and silently through the cramped interior, their magnetic boots barely clicking against the deck. They reached the interior access bulkhead leading into the main data trunk line, the point where they could inject the virus. "Rourke, you're on the door. Silent bypass," Mitchell ordered, his voice hushed. "Doc, cover the 6. We're on a 12-minute clock before the deep scan pulse resets." Rourke knelt before the massive, 6-inch thick vault door. She pulled out a laser etching tool, designed to vaporize metallic bonds without noise or flash. She started the etch, but the tool struggled. The Jordani metal was denser, hardened. "This isn't working fast enough," Rourke hissed, her patience evaporating faster than the plasma she normally used. "The tool is lagging. I'm going to have to." "Don't you dare," Mitchell began, his voice a strained whisper. But Rourke was already reaching for her kit, frustration winning out over discipline. She slapped a micro-shaped charge the size of a coin onto the door seam. It was designed for precision cutting, minimal noise. It was her compromise. "Minimal noise, Captain," she hissed, activating the charge. The charge detonated with a sound that, in the sterile silence of the Iron Will's service conduit, sounded exactly like a thunderclap. It didn't destroy the door, but it blew the lock assembly inward with a sharp, definitive crack, followed by a shower of superheated shrapnel. Red lights flared instantly. The ship's AI, which had been tracking their progress, cut in with panicked urgency. "Intruder alert. Hull integrity breached. Sector Gamma 9. All hands to battle stations." Mitchell threw his head back in pure, frustrated fury. "Rourke, I said silent." "It was silent for a shaped charge," Rourke roared back, her grin now a feral slash of pure pleasure. "It was either that or be late. Now we fight." The Jordani military, who had been patrolling in measured, precise routes, became a swarm of enraged, heavily armed hornets. 24 Jordani infantry, clad in polished black armor and wielding energy rifles, materialized at the end of the corridor. They moved with terrifying speed, shields raised. "Contact! Heavy plasma coming!" Doc screamed, already dragging Mitchell behind a large, inconveniently placed junction box. Malik, still near the access point, didn't hesitate. Forget silence. His autocannon, previously muted, opened up with a terrifying rapid-fire thump-thump-thump, tearing the air apart. The high-caliber rounds shredded the lead Jordani shields, ripping through armor and sending the soldiers flying in bloody pieces. Malik, suppressive fire, Mitchell yelled, firing his twin rifles with brutal, focused accuracy, dropping 3 Jordani who tried to flank the cover. They're not running. They're too disciplined. The Jordani adjusted their formation, their training overriding the shock. They started firing plasma cannons that quickly melted the junction box Mitchell was hiding behind. Mitchell, the data core is 3 levels down. We have to move, Doc urged, frantically trying to treat a minor shrapnel wound on Mitchell's shoulder while under heavy fire. We've got maybe 90 seconds before their heavy power suits get here. Rourke looked delighted. Power suits? Oh, finally. I was getting bored. They retreated down a utility ladder. As they dropped, Rourke tossed 2 fragmentation grenades back up the shaft. The subsequent boom was deeply satisfying, followed by the clatter of armored bodies tumbling down the shaft. They burst onto the main engineering level, a huge, cavernous space humming with reactor energy, now quickly filling with Jordani troops backed by 3 massive, towering power suits with railguns. Malik, focus fire on the railgun suits. Don't let them stabilize, Mitchell roared. Rourke, find me something big and flammable. Already on it, Rourke shouted back. She located a massive, unsecured primary coolant line, slapped a breaching charge on it, and aimed the rupture away from them. The charge blew, rupturing the pressurized line. Highly volatile coolant sprayed out in a cloud. Rourke followed up by firing a single incendiary round into the vapor. Whoosh! A massive wall of blue-hot flame erupted across the engineering deck, separating the crew from the main body of Jordani troops and the power suits. That's not minimal collateral, Rourke. That's a goddamn act of war, Doc yelled, shielding his face. It's a temporary structural solution, Doc. Look, they can't get through. Rourke pointed happily at the confused, burning Jordani behind the wall of fire. They raced toward the secondary data node, a fortified bunker within the engineering bay, while the fire raged behind them. 2 elite Jordani sentinel guards flanked the access hatch. Malik, suppression on the structure above the sentinels, Mitchell ordered. Malik poured tungsten core rounds into the piping and ceiling directly above the guards, triggering a localized system failure. Pipes burst, steam vented, and ceiling panels collapsed, all directly onto the sentinel guards. Their shields flickered and dropped as they were assaulted by falling debris, heat, and steam. Mitchell and Rourke surged forward in perfect synchronization. Mitchell blasted one guard in the visor during the split second its shield dropped. Rourke jammed a high-voltage incapacitor directly into the exposed power cell of the second guard's armor, frying its internal systems. The guard collapsed, twitching. "Doc, get the data," Mitchell said, holding the now compromised access hatch. Doc, moving with frantic, desperate speed, jammed the external drive into the port. "Siphon initiated. 12 seconds. We need to go now." The wall of fire was finally dying, and the 3 massive power suits were charging through the smoke, their railguns cycling. "Rourke, final bang. Get these things off our backs," Mitchell commanded. Rourke threw a half-dozen small, heavily magnetized sticky bombs onto the central data node, the very core of the Jordani network. "Minimal collateral, Captain. Minimal," she screamed, pulling a detonator. "Data transfer complete," Doc yelled, yanking the data package free. "Go, go, go." Rourke hit the detonator. The explosion was contained but devastating to the central processing hub. Systems immediately crashed. Alarms became erratic, lights flickered and died, and the entire ship briefly lurched into an agonizing tremor. They scrambled back toward their hull breach, tumbling into the maintenance conduit. Briggs, who had been covering them from his outside perch, reappeared at the entrance, dragging a large, silent, 4-wheeled cleaning drone. "I found our ride, Captain. It has a pre-programmed route to the main waste disposal bay, exactly where the dagger is waiting," Briggs said, already piling onto the low-riding sanitation drone. "You hijacked a vacuum cleaner," Mitchell stared. "It's an automated sanitation and egress unit, Cap. It's better than walking." The 5 elite mercenaries piled onto the drone, clinging to its frame as it automatically sped through the service corridors, the iron will screaming around them. Rourke threw 2 more explosive canisters in their wake, creating a final, definitive wall of fire and debris. "Goodbye, Jordani," Rourke yelled over the sirens. "Tell the Admiral to get a better cleaning crew." Delgado brought the black dagger into position in the silent waste disposal bay. They scrambled off the sanitation drone, diving into the open ramp just as the ship's main deep scan cycle began to sweep their coordinates. The ramp sealed. The Black Dagger vanished into hyperspace. Aboard the Black Dagger, Mitchell leaned back, pulling out his cigar stub. His crew laughed around him, bruised, bloody, and alive. Report. Data secured. Jordani fleet is currently running in panicked circles, and the Jordani Sovereignty's chief engineer is filing an official complaint regarding the theft of a specialized, high-performance sanitation drone, the AI reported, sounding profoundly defeated. Mitchell looked at Rourke, whose face was still smeared with soot and adrenaline. You turned a stealth op into a war zone, Corporal. But we won, Cap, and we got the loot. Mitchell laughed, a genuine hard sound. He raised his hand. To the Black Dagger. We came, we killed, and like ghosts, we vanished. They raised their drinks, their laughter echoing. The orderly universe was safe again, unaware of the ghosts who had just destroyed a flagship with the equivalent of a loud sneeze and a floor mop. And somewhere in the void, the Black Dagger was already looking for the next impossible problem to solve with overwhelming, hilarious violence.